Hello and welcome to When Grooms Get Engaged, the podcast about a guy's perspective to wedding planning from two guys that are currently trying to survive their own. I'm Steve.
And I'm Chris. And each week we will talk about how we navigated a different part of the wedding planning journey, what we learned in the process, and what maybe we had wished we had done differently. So, Steve, what are we talking about this week? And when's the last time you've updated your MySpace page?
Chris, MySpace, man.
Deep cuts.
Do you remember how, like, in MySpace, everyone was a developer or programmer? Like, messing around
I know
with their...
HTML.
Exactly, messing around with the HTML. And I remember I had gone to, I think I went to Albania. I must have been like 14. And I took this like beautiful picture of my dad's village right on the sea. And I did that stupid background where you take that picture and you tile it so it just repeats itself over and over again.
Yep.
And I was so proud of myself, but it looked hideous. And
I'm a hacker now.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm a computer whiz kid. But thankfully, some actual person that's good with this stuff decided that, hey, I don't know shit about designing a website. But you know what? If they make it easy enough, even I can do something that's presentable. So, Chris, today we are talking about the wedding website. And presumably, your guests just got their invitations in the mail or their save the dates. And, they want more information. So, Chris, they're going to go to your wedding website, which you have just put together. So we're just here to give you some, some suggestions, some tips, some tricks to make it look better than my 14-year-old's MySpace page.
Yeah, I think obviously pictures are going to help you a lot, right? And if you listen to our previous episodes, if you've done your engagement shoot, you can just splatter all of those beautiful pictures all over your website and, people will think it's the best thing ever. So there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of different website creation tools. I think we both used the same company. I think we both used the Knot. It's super intuitive. They have everything that you need. A lot of flexibility with how everything looks. And just like some easy templates for you to just like plug and play. So like you can get everything done in like 30 minutes if you want to, or make it look as beautiful as you desire, right? Like you can spend hours probably just designing everything on that website. So what did you think about the Knots tools and how did you use it?
So my fiance did a lot of the legwork on it. And I think she used it greatly.
Is she joining the call?
No, she is not, because this is about guy's perspective, not the bride's perspective. But at some point we will have her on, and she does have just a better eye for design, and like aesthetics, color theory, like see what matches, what doesn't.
So she was in charge of the stationaries then. Mm-hmm. Now I get it.
She definitely took point on that as well. But yeah, no, like you mentioned, the Knot or Zola or what's the other one? There's another one, isn't there? There's like a third big one.
Those are the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones?
Yeah.
So, Chris, like you mentioned, it's plug and play. You get a template, and then you can kind of fill out as many sections of that as you want. So some of the basic ones, some of the ones that people first look to is your story. People are coming to celebrate you, and, you're the most important thing on this day. But, they kind of want to know something about you. Not everyone knows intricate deep details. Maybe they know your relationship through Facebook or Instagram, or maybe they know your relationship because your parents, your mom or dad told their mom or dad. So you kind of hear it secondhand. So sometimes people want to know more. So it's good to have like a fun little Our Story page so people can get to know the couple as a couple.
Yeah, I don't know if you had this issue or not, but like, I have some cousins and stuff that we haven't like kept in touch like in great depth, right? So, I think it was good to add that information in there so that they, have a sense of the background. Obviously, also we've talked about it before, but like, sometimes your guest list is not entirely your own, and sometimes your family have a say in it, right? So you want to include that information for probably people that you might not have met or haven't seen in a few years that your parents are a little bit closer to. So having that information kind of helps them see who you are as a couple and kind of get introduced to you in advance of the wedding.
Yeah. And we live in a post-COVID world, like people maybe didn't keep in touch, they had no way of keeping in touch. A lot of things changed, so it's also just good to just be aware that not everyone knows everything that's going on in your life. And maybe, they just got an invite. They didn't even realize you were dating someone. And now all of a sudden, hey, they're coming to the wedding in a few months. So it's good to have that there.
Yeah, it was definitely probably the hardest part of the website, like, because it's the most creative part, right? You have to kind of think like, what is it about our relationship? And so just know that you'll probably be spending more time on that section than a lot of the other things, because a lot of the other pages are just facts, right? You're just listing the important stuff, your dates, your times, where the venue is, maybe, you know, embedding some maps in there. So, you know, having that, all that important information is a little bit easier to enter because it's all at hand. Whereas the crafting of the My Story page is, you know, can take a little bit of time. So just be prepared for that.
So, you know how I said that my fiance did most of the legwork on the wedding website?
Mm-hmm.
She delegated to me the My Story and the things to eat in Corfu page. You know, she's like, you got this. I'm like, okay, fine.
Hey, the food recommendations are right up your alley. So, you know, I think that was key.
Of course. Yes. So My Story is probably the first thing that people click on, you know, and just get to know more about you. But besides that, Chris, what other kind of information should you have on the website?
So, we are going to have people, you know, it's a quote unquote local wedding for my family, for a lot of our friends, right? You know, in Chicago. However, Catherine's family is traveling from the East Coast to Chicago. So it was very important to provide very detailed notes about travel, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, you know, they're seasoned travelers, so, you know, they'll be able to get around no problem. But, you know, we wanted to take the time to make sure that they had everything on hand if they needed to reference anything, right? You know, Chicago has 2 major airports. So, like, what if you're going to not take an Uber or a Lyft? How do you get there via train? Or like,
Chris,
what is the time via Uber?
You've forgotten the Milwaukee airport? Come on.
You could technically. That'd be a hell of an Uber ride, though. But yeah. You know, just trying to provide a lot of information for them to have at their fingertips in case they need to reference anything, or they can just plan their travel a little bit easier, right? Like 9 times out of 10, people are probably just going to take an Uber and call it good. But for those that, you know, want to be a little bit more cost savings, or, you know, in Chicago, every expressway is under construction 24/7, 365, right? So sometimes traveling from the airport to downtown can take like an hour and a half to 2 hours in the wrong traffic. So we wanted to make sure that we provided different options, really, you know, provide warnings or at least cautionary notes for some family that might be traveling the day of the wedding, right? They might try to fly in that morning, and what should they expect, and how should they prepare to get downtown as efficiently as possible so they don't miss anything.
Yeah, and besides the My Story, I really think that clear, concise, and actionable travel instructions are probably the most important part of your website. Like you mentioned, you know, what airport makes the most sense to fly in and out of? Sometimes it's a cost difference, you know. Mm-hmm. If you're international coming to Chicago, Chris, you're flying out of O'Hare more than likely. Where should you stay? You know, like a hotel in Chicago is not all the same. It could be a complete different size of town. And if you getting married on like South Loop or the South Side, getting a hotel closer to like Evanston or Skokie, you know, you're way out of the way, even though it's a hotel technically in Chicago. So have as much information on travel. And I know for us, since we are having an international wedding, we try to also do as much as we can, you know, give people an idea of like what to do, what to see, because people also like maybe coming a day or two early and like, you know, being a tourist, vacationing a little bit. And Chicago has a lot of things to do, you know, but when you have so many options, you might have like analysis paralysis. You don't know which one to go with. So you have to rely on a local, you know, what's actually worth going to.
That's a great point. Yeah, I love that. Like provide a few things to do, and like, you know, obviously for different travel styles, right? Like something that might be more active or something that might be more, you know, relaxed or chill, you know, is always good. You know who's coming, and just provide different options. Like if you have kids at the wedding, you might need to provide some activities for them to do like before or after the wedding, right? Like, you know, the day before, the day after, if they're making a weekend of it. I also think it's important too, just to go back a little bit, is you know, with the travel logistics, is also maybe try to provide some estimated costs for things, you know, just so that like everyone wants to budget, right? I'm sure at this point in time, when you're thinking about your website, you're also thinking about your own wedding budget, right? And so people are thinking about their travel budgets. So, you know, what is the average Uber cost, you know, to and from the airport? What does the train look like? What does the bus look like? You know, if you think anyone's going to take those options, right? Just provide those for people so they can kind of budget out their own travel.
Yeah, and this, if you do have a room block at a hotel or multiple hotels, this is the spot to put it in.
Why wouldn't you do that? Just do it. Like, again, setting up hotel blocks, sorry to interrupt, but like it's pretty easy, and
Chris,
you
real
should reach
quick,
out.
you are a professional at this.
Yeah. So, but
some people are not.
most hotels, at least in a major metropolitan area, are going to like want to do a courtesy block for you. That means like there's no financial commitment on your end. You don't need to pick up a certain amount of rooms. There might be incentives for you depending on the hotel, right? Like if you pick up, say, 80% of your room block, meaning you pick up 80% of the nights that you contract with them, they might incentivize you by giving you like free suite upgrades or like upgrades at the group rate. So you get some like, critical discounts and save where you can, right? That's what I always say when you have a lot to pay for this wedding. So might as well save where you can and enjoy the good life, if you can get people to book within your hotel block. So, I would definitely shop around and also take the time, even though you might be familiar with a lot of the brands and a lot of the different hotels, like take a day, take a couple hours to go visit them just to make sure that they're going to, be suitable for your needs. You want to be able to have your personal recommendation. If you're recommending this to family and friends, you should be knowledgeable about it. So take the time, do your research, reach out. But in all, the hotels are going to be happy to accommodate you.
Yeah, and this is also, if you're having your wedding at a hotel, this will be much easier. They're going to be the ones who to start that conversation. If you're not having it in a hotel, look at the hotels that are around your venue. And like the other thing to think about is, yes, this makes your guests happy, but it also makes less of an issue of where missing guests could be if you know where they're staying. Maybe it's an important uncle or something, and you left the accommodations to him and he, screwed it up. He got on the wrong side of town. This way you're like telling them, hey, these are the places to go. And I know where you're going to be so I can find you. Just another thing to think about.
Also, like, again, if you are having your wedding at a hotel, there's going to be incentives for you to have family and friends stay there, right? Or at least there usually is. You should also think about still offering maybe a backup hotel that maybe checks a box that your wedding hotel, your host hotel, does not, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're at a more luxurious, 4 or 5 star hotel, like, and that's your wedding hotel, and that's your venue, maybe think about maybe a lower cost hotel that might be across the street or nearby, maybe one that has like free breakfast or, might be more accommodating to kids or vice versa, right? You might have, might want to provide a more elevated experience within your block. It might be more expensive, but you can still get a discount, by reaching out to these properties. So just maybe try to mix and match a little bit because not everyone's travel style, not everyone's budget is the same. So just try to at least provide one secondary option.
Chris, that's actually a very good point. Give people options at different price brackets. Like let's say you're recommending brunch for people and you're like, hey, the brunch at the Peninsula is amazing. Well, yes, it is. But the brunch at Cafe Barbariba is also pretty good, depending on like how much you want to spend for it. Hotels at different price brackets. Yep, that's a very good point. So give people a little bit of a range so that they can decide, what they're most comfortable going to, but that still works for the wedding generally.
And something we haven't really talked about in previous episodes, but some couples will provide shuttles, right? Shuttle service between different hotels to get to the venue. So that's also something to think about as you're setting up wedding blocks, is to think about, can people take the train? Are Ubers readily available? If not to either of those things, then you may need to provide shuttle service, which obviously is going to add to the budget. So, just something to consider when you're considering all these logistics and setting up, choosing your venue and then, picking the different hotels.
Yeah. So with the travel section, there's a lot you can do for it. And the easier you make it for your guests, the more enjoyable they're going to have it, more fun time. And the less questions they're going to ask you. Because I know, Chris, one of the things we're having to deal with right now is like questions from family members. Where do we stay? How do we get there? Is this a good place or not a good place? Should I stay here? Is this worth it? So the more of those questions you could pre-answer on your website, just the easier it's going to be for you.
Yeah, you can just tap your wedding sign and just be like, check the website, check the website, check the website.
Yeah, exactly. So, Chris, besides travel instructions, what other kind of important things you might want to put on your wedding website?
I think reminders about attire, like what kind of, is it black tie? Is it more casual? Is it outdoors? Like providing all of that information is good for everyone to know. Reminders about kids, are they or are they not welcome? Is something good to include. I think also you can RSVP through your weddings, right? We've talked about it before. And I think it's a very, very convenient option. So you'll be able to set that up through the Knot as well. So you can have everyone RSVP on your website. So you're getting responses in real time, notifications in real time. And then you're able to, something that we just did recently is message everybody through the Knot. We were able to very easily find everyone who has not responded yet. And we were able to send them a text message and an email through the Knot very easily. And then as soon as we did that, we started seeing all the responses come through. So definitely very convenient because you'll have those responses in real time, and people are able to do that very quickly. So it's very convenient and very efficient.
Quick word on that. Yes, but it does need a little bit more legwork in the beginning to get people's email addresses, text phones, cell phones. But if you do have it, it lets you do a lot in one quick swipe. But Chris, I kind of want to take a step back. You mentioned something very important: the attire.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one attire, isn't there?
No, it's just black tie always.
Oh, it's just black tie. That's it. Yes,
mandatory.
Black tie,
mandatory. You're turned away at the door.
Not optional. Mandatory. So if you're going for a look, you're going to tell people how to dress, right? And depending on what you say, it means different things. So I have never seen an invitation. Maybe we just don't, party in this bracket. But I've never seen a white tie attire for a wedding invitation. I think that's just related to, I don't know, fancy galas or crazy events like that. Have you ever seen that for a wedding, Chris?
Oh, you haven't seen the update to our website?
Man, I gotta go return my tux. Get some freaking flappers or whatever those things are called in the back of a tux. Get my cane.
No, I haven't seen that one to date. Usually it's black tie, suggested, optional. That's a big one. Otherwise, more just like suit and tie, or you can go cocktail attire. That's kind of the typical ones that you see.
Yeah. So black tie and black tie optional are usually going to be the formal wedding attires. For guys, it's a full suit, black tie, a tux. Usually, black tie optional is tux optional. But usually in darker colors. And I think there's a time requirement. So usually evening weddings, starting after 5 or 6 will be the black tie optional. And then from there, you go down to formal and cocktail attire, which you could maybe have a gray suit, a green suit or red suit. It's still a suit, still trousers and a coat and a tie, but it's not, the full tux, the full classic black tux. And then depending on how informal you go on the women's side, I think it's the length of the dress, I want to say. So a black tie attire, dress for a woman would be floral length gown. And then it kind of goes up from there. Mm-hmm. And then if you have a beach attire, just trousers and a dress shirt, maybe some kind of jacket, not, a matching jacket with your pants, maybe some kind of sport coat or something. So depending on what you want, you need to tell people, right? So they could dress appropriately for it.
Yeah, that's very critical. Don't have someone show up in jean shorts, in the middle of your wedding. So just make sure you communicate as much as possible about what you want people to be wearing. There's a lot of great resources. If you Google them, you can link those to your website too. So people have a great idea and a great resource to refer back to of what exactly you're looking for.
Yeah. And then whatever attire, dress code you decide, make sure you yourself are dressing the next one up. Right? You don't want to be underdressed for your wedding. So if you tell people to come in cocktail or formal attire, you should be in black tie, right? Just so you stand out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought about that, but that's probably a safe bet.
Yeah, because Chris, I know we're going formal attire, but I'm doing a tux, and I think you're doing black tie optional.
Suggested, strongly suggested.
Strongly suggested. Gotcha. But yeah, it's
Like
good that you're telling
no
us.
one's being turned away at our wedding, but at the very least, be wearing a black suit.
You mean if someone comes in jean shorts, they're going to be accepted too? Gotcha.
Wait, you mean I can't? Damn,
Chris, I'm hoping. I'm hoping for your fiance that you're a little better dressed than that.
That'd be that'd be a quick engagement there.
Yeah. So dress code, and then you're going to want to have all dates, times, venues of all important things,
and likely, as always, set it 15-30 minutes before the actual start, just to make sure people get there on time.
So Chris, you know how we're very timely people, me and my family?
Yep.
Well, my sister, she was baptizing my nephew a couple weeks ago, and the baptism started at 12:30. She set all the invites for 12:15. And I remember looking at the invite, I'm like, 12:15? What starts at 12:15? But she had it perfectly set up. Everyone got there right on time for 12:30. Baptism started without a hitch. So, honestly,
know your crowd, know your family. Yeah.
Know your crowd. Like my family, Greek time, Albanian time, Filipino time. These are all real things, unexplained phenomenon, but you gotta work around them. Know your crowd. If your guest list is all like, Germanic by the book, maybe you're fine. But otherwise,
just 5 minutes before then.
Yeah, right.
12:25.
Yeah, they'll be there early. Like, where's everyone? But yeah, give people a buffer, definitely.
What are some other things that we should be considering on our website, Steve?
Chris, lots and lots and lots and lots of pictures. If you have already taken engagement pictures, this is a great place to show them off. Chris, I know I mentioned before, I think you guys had some great engagement pictures, and they weren't like your traditional, summer Chicago pictures. They were like fun, wintry pictures with beautiful sun. So like, show them off. You're paying for these things, right? These pictures are not cheap. So just plaster them as much as you can, and also pictures from your relationship leading up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, have fun with it, right? Like, it's a chance for you guys to relive some of the memories and your time together. So share those photos, share those selfies, and have some fun. I think something else that it all depends on your wedding style too, and what you're expecting. But another critical piece is the registry, right? So it's a chance for you to add things on the list that you want for your wedding. And, the knot, at least I can speak from that experience, is very well integrated. You're able to link to a lot of different websites, a lot of different gifts. It's pretty easy. A lot of times you get discounts through them as well, and provide your family and friends with some options to gift you, or say that you want to put, I think the trendy thing to do is now like a cash fund, right? So instead of giving like cash gifts at the wedding, to maybe do it online towards maybe the down payment of a house, or for a honeymoon fund. It could be a divisive thing, but I think it's a trendy thing to do lately.
Yeah, it's definitely trendy, and I think a lot of it is because people are living in the city. Maybe their apartment's not huge. Maybe they're still 2-3 years away from buying a house where they have all this room. Maybe they're in debt, because we've done the budgeting episode. These things are not cheap. So definitely have some kind of like money fund option, but just take a step back. Ultimately, like, you may feel like you're kind of asking for something, but people also want to give you something. So the goal with the registry or gift section is to make it as easy as possible, that if they do want to give you something, it's something that you actually need. It's easy to just kind of like put stuff on a registry, but make sure to actually put things out there that you're going to use, and have like a good variety of items. Like, nothing that are like not everything should be super expensive. Not everything should be like super affordable. Just kind of have a little bit of everything, so people have great choices. Chris, this is something that I know we talked about. Like, some people, I guess, they don't like giving money, but they love giving gifts. So you're just giving them options of something that you would appreciate.
Yeah, I think it's also something that you might not consider too, is like some people might not be able to attend the wedding for various reasons. And so this allows them an opportunity to give you a gift in lieu of their attendance, right? They can still send something to you to celebrate you as a couple and your, wedding. And do that in lieu of their attendance. So it's just a great option to have on your website. And as you mentioned, like have options, like one, only add things that you want, and then two, again, different price points. I think like the $50 to $200 range is kind of what you want to do. 50 to 100, 50 to 150, kind of all in that kind of ballpark. You don't want to ask for outlandish things, unless you're all ballers, then that's fine. But, not everyone's budget's the same, and, give people different options of ways to celebrate you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because I think some gifts, like let's say you have a $500 gift, people can pool together and get that as a joint gift, which it also gives you the option, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So you have like a bunch of family members come in together on one gift.
Yeah, which is nice. And then just one final thing I'll say for the registry is this is also good because maybe some people will give you a gift before the wedding. So it's just less things to think about during the wedding, like having a pile of gifts in the corner somewhere that someone's got to make sense of that. Someone's got to transport that. Someone's got to make sure nothing's taken. But this way you can kind of get gifts, leading up to the wedding. I know we've gotten a couple of things and they're just kind of like sitting here, but it's nice that we don't have to worry about, transporting things to and from Greece in our case.
Yeah, that's a great point because obviously Catherine and I are not living in Chicago. So all of our gifts were, scheduled to be delivered to our apartment on the East Coast, which, makes it great because like you can't fly back with like a million things, right? So it's nice to have that option ahead of time and have everything shipped to your house or apartment.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but that's going to be one extra luggage and then another extra luggage and then this fee and that fee. And it's not worth it. That sounds horrible. Yeah.
Maybe if you're driving back, or something, or you have a lot of extra space, but even then I would just recommend having everything shipped directly to your house or apartment.
Yeah. And they make it so easy. It's really nice. Besides that, Chris, is there anything else that you should consider maybe having on your wedding website?
You know what? I think we touched on a lot of the topics. Let me know if I'm forgetting anything.
Oh, an RSVP section. Did we mention that?
We did. Okay. I think, again, I will reiterate because just how convenient it was and it's so recent memory, but having the RSVP online through the website and then being able to message and text message our guests who have not responded yet, we wanted to remind them, hey, RSVP, but then also like we have some deadlines coming up for our hotel block, right? So if they're still planning on traveling or haven't made their bookings yet, it was just a reminder to make their hotel reservation before arriving and before those rates expire because, sometime in Chicago can be expensive.
Yeah, sometimes Chicago can definitely be expensive. So yeah, Chris, I think that's a good list for people to get started. Obviously, from here, you can kind of expand, as you want to, what's important to you. You can maybe add profiles of the wedding party. You can add profiles of parents. You can talk about maybe deceased family members that are no longer with you. You can, sky's the limit. You can talk about whatever you want. But we think that these, first 4 or 5 points are absolute must to start with, and then you can kind of expand from there.
Definitely. Oh, and one final thing that I thought was kind of interesting, depending on your budget and depending on how much extra you want to go for your family, sometimes in lieu of shuttles, you can also set up as a couple like an Uber fund and get like your own promo code so that you can like say, I'm going to put $500 in this bucket and set up a promo code with Uber. And then anybody of your guests that use that promo code, it will like deduct from that bucket of funds. So you can kind of provide free or discounted Uber rides through them with that promo code. So if you just like search that through Uber, you can set up your own promo code to help provide, some logistical support for your guests if that's something you want to do.
I wonder if like those codes have ever gotten out to the public and just been abused.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Protect those at all costs.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe don't post those on the website. Just say like text us or email us for more details.
That's a good call. And with that, Chris, I think we gave people some good things to think about.
Definitely. And I guess one other final thing.
Promise, last final.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to make a QR code, but including that on your invitations or, emails and stuff like can also be helpful. Like obviously you can link in an email, but any stationery, like again, think about a QR code to link to your website just to make things as easy as possible. So that's my final thought.
Perfect. Chris, I agree. Make it easy, make it actionable, and you'll get much more responses. And with that, I think we're done for this week. Chris, what are we going to talk about next week?
So how do you deal with setbacks, bad news, and managing the stress of wedding planning? So stay tuned.
You mean this is stressful?
Not with you here.
That's what I try, man. That's what I'm here for. All right. Chris, thanks for hanging out. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Steve. Take care, everybody.
All right. Bye.